I want to introduce our guest right here, and I want to give him the proper accolades because this guy is special. He is a former state championship winning quarterback from the state of Louisiana at Parkway High School in New Orleans. Went on the road and won all of those playoff games. He committed to playing football at LSU, finished his career as last year he played at North Carolina, started off as an assistant running back coach and offensive analyst at Texas, but he followed that up with going into the director of recruiting role, and now he is the GM. I think he might be the youngest GM in the country, but we're going to have to fact check that. Let's get unfiltered with our guest today, Brandon Harris. My man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you having me on the show. Smoke, thank you for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, B, listen to this. You started off on the field coaching. What made you pivot from going on the field and coaching to being off the field in the recruiting department and eventually going into the general manager role you hold today?
Man, I believe it was a vision, right? When I first got into this deal, I was with the running backs, right? And you've already kind of went through that. And I knew I wasn't coaching a room, especially here in Texas, right? And we had Stan Drayton, who was unbelievable, great teacher. And I was just like, okay, how can I find my niche? You know, and in doing that, I thought, okay, well, if I'm not going to coach the room, I better get acclimated to recruiting, right? So my job was to, try to connect with different players. And then during that time, we were able to sign some incredible players. And then, Coach Sark took over this job in 2021. And I was fortunate for him to be able to keep me. And our director of recruiting at the time, Brian Carrington, who did a great job during his time here at Texas, left. And Coach Sark moved me into the spot. And since then, the rest has kind of been history.
B, being one of those GMs, old guy, man, I'm 43, but I understand the pressures of finishing in a top 5 class. Right now, Texas is on the outside looking in terms of being on that top 5 class. What are you doing to take those steps to make sure that Texas does finish in the top 5?
Yeah, so for us, and I mean, no insults when I say this. I mean, obviously a big fan of 247 Sports, On3, Rivals, and all of those different platforms. But, we believe in our process, which we believe in evaluating our own players and doing the things that we do. And we don't get caught up with outside rankings and what, other, affiliate ranking websites may think of, how we recruit. We evaluate the right players. And when we evaluate the right players, we try to go out and assign them. And, luckily these last 3 years, now going into year 4, we've been pretty fortunate in doing so.
Now, Brandon, you and I talk a lot, especially leading up to signing day, and in both of those periods, when you're going after elite talent in this day and age, how is NIL affecting it as you get closer to signing day, and does NIL make it that much difficult to close out on your classes?
Yeah, for us, and I think Coach has been on record saying this, Coach Sark, we always want kids to sign up to come to the University of Texas for all the right reasons, right? I mean, you talk about a top 10 program, top 5 program, I might add. You talk about a top 5 in education as it relates to public schools. We want to sign the right kids that want to be here for all of the right reasons, how they're going to develop on and off the field. And then, hey, at the end of the day, NIL has now become part of that conversation. And our goal always is just to educate people on NIL and talk about the different opportunities that are afforded to you when you have the opportunity to play at the University of Texas, which is a top 5 program in the country and probably the most recognizable logo. Well, not probably, I know the most recognizable logo in all of college sports. So when all those things align and you feel like this is where you want to be at, we always have said, NIL always makes sense. And we've been pretty fortunate to have a really, really good NIL system that we have here at Texas.
Now, B, when you're putting together your roster, we all understand there's key components of doing that. What are your 3 components of properly constructing your roster at Texas? Yeah,
for us, the number one thing is we got to evaluate the right talent. It starts there. I think we do a really, really good job in our evaluation process. Then next is you got to recruit. You got to have a right system in place to recruit the best players. And then after that, you got to develop those guys. If you can do those 3, in my opinion, components really, really well, you're fortunate, like we were this past April for the draft, to have 11 players drafted. So I think if you continue to have that system in place, the sky's the limit for your program.
Now, you were a former quarterback yourself, and you played it at a very high level. From the GM perspective, give us a quick eval on your current quarterback, Quinn Ewers.
Oh man, like you won't probably find a bigger fan than me on Quinn. Quinn's elite in every sense of the word. Quinn's probably one of the most gifted, passers, quarterbacks I've ever been around, and he's so chill, right? The moment's never too big for him. It's a reason why our successes continue to go up since he's been here and he's taken over as our quarterback. And obviously he's going into year 3 as a starting quarterback. With all of the recognition that he rightfully so deserves. My goal is always to try to be one of the parts of putting the best talent that we can around him. And I think the sky's the limit. But in terms of the talent, you won't find a better talented quarterback. And I think he's poised to have an awesome season here in year 3 in our program.
Now, Brandon, you touched on evaluating recruiting. There's 3 types of GMs, in my opinion. You got your recruiter, you got your evaluator, and then you got your unicorn, the one that does all 2 of those, plus sign the deal. Which one of those guys are you?
I think, man, I'm a unicorn. I think I'm a jack of all trades. I feel like in this role, you kind of have to be that. Coach Sark has this saying around here, the more you can do. It's not about having the biggest staff, having the most people, all of those things. It's just about the more you can do. You'll never find me complaining just because I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I feel like the more you complain about what you don't have, the quicker you're going to be out the door. Take advantage of what you have and make the most of your opportunities. So I feel like I'm a unicorn. I've just got to adapt. Coach said this, and he says it to us all the time. You either adapt or you die. And I'm not looking forward to dying no time soon. So keep making the most of my opportunities.
Well, B, we're going to lighten it up a little bit. We're going to get into our true and false segment, true or false, and add a little comment after it after each question. So I'm going to start it off and give you the first one. Quarterbacks are the most important initial commitment in a recruiting class.
I think that's 100% true. I think that quarterback is always that sounding board for the entire class and how that class will look. And obviously, it is the most popular position in all of sports. So when you get the right guy and he's different, you tend to be able to recruit a little bit easier.
B, true or false? Texas will finish in the top 5 in the 2025 recruiting rankings.
True. I think we set up. We've always done a good job of finishing really, really well, and ultimately, the season has a lot to do with that. But I think we're poised to have a really good season. If we do that, it'll take care of the rest.
B, last one for you. Winning the recruiting signing class in the summertime is way too overblown.
100% true. I think it goes back to that last comment that I just made. Obviously you like momentum and, obviously we'll have a ton of momentum leading into our season. But what I will always say is the season has a lot to do with how you finish in recruiting. If you go out and you play really, really well and you're developing players and players are having an opportunity to play at the next level, I think it takes care of recruiting. And fortunately for us, I think, again, we're going to have a really, really good season. And that's going to, propel us into having another good signing day class that'll, lead us into the future.
Brandon, at the end of every segment or interview that we have, we like to do something called Shine a Light. Are there any guys in the profession, in the recruiting department, general manager role, or coaching that maybe everybody in the country doesn't know about? Is there a guy, too, that you'd like to let us know we should have our eye on this guy because he's next?
I'll say guy and girl, and women, rather. One thing I want to do is just shine a light on the staff that I have, the fortune of working with every single day. Obviously, I want to highlight our director of player personnel, John Michael Jones, who does a great job for us, kind of running our evaluation process. Jimmy Youngblood, who's come up in our system, went off to University of Houston. We brought him back. Jackson Gleason, who was a person that came up in our system that we had promoted to a full-time role. Then on the recruiting side, Taylor Searles, who's done a great job for us. I worked directly with the last couple of years. Who's our director of recruiting, Kendall Perry, who we hired from FAMU, who's come over here and done a great job. And then we have Jordan Mitchell, who was a person who came up in our system, who we promoted to a full-time role. It's everybody, man. We're very, very fortunate at Texas. When Sark came here with a vision, I think he hired an incredible staff. And we say around here all the time, when it comes to recruiting, it's all hands on deck. So, again, we've been real fortunate to have really good people. And outside of that, just people that I'm sure you already know, 2 of my close friends in this profession, James Blanchard at Texas Tech, and then obviously Courtney Morgan, who's one of my guys too. Seeing with the success that they've had and how much they continue to help evolve this thing it's been pretty cool. And I'm pretty fortunate to have those two guys that I can call at any time and just, pitch different ideas or ask for advice.
B, man, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. You dropped some knowledge, you dropped some jewels. University of Texas is in the mix. I think didn't Coach Saban Smoke pick them as a SEC championship game?
No doubt.
For sure. I know the expectations are high, but you're doing a great job, man. And thanks for coming on our show today.
Man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. And look, when I retire too, I'm gonna come up there and I'll coach the offensive line and run the wing tee with you.
Well, listen, I'm 43, so everybody on social media knows when I turn 50, whatever I'm doing, I'm stopping it and I'm going back to coach high school football and I'm gonna run the wing tee. You're more than welcome to come with me.
Appreciate y'all having me on. Yes, sir.